Hello.
Hey, good morning, gentlemen. How are you?
Oh, we can't hear you. One moment.
Can you hear me now?
We can't hear you.
I had computer. You want to do this audio?
My mic is on, so let me know if you.
Yeah.
We're just getting you now.
Okay.
Perfect. Can you hear us?
Yeah, can hear you fine. If the video becomes choppy at all on your end, let me know. The Wi-Fi here is sometimes a little suspect, and I do have added data to my plan before the end of the month, so that I've got another 8 days here at Lake of the Woods, and then I'm heading back to Holmes. So it's starting to get really cold here. Yeah, and
Well,
until
you can always come down and visit us down in Florida. It's still
I would,
90 degrees yesterday when I went to drop off a bike.
jeez. Yeah, we're sitting at around 55 degrees right now. It's a little
Oh man.
cool.
Yeah, bit of a difference.
Absolutely. So is Amin gonna make it in this morning?
We don't know. I sent him a text.
Yes, he said last night that he'll make it in. Hopefully he makes it here soon.
Excellent. Okay. So how's the last week been? What's any wins on the table you guys want to share before we get started?
Yeah, we're up to 16 bikes this month.
Good for you.
Yeah, which is really nice. We just need another about 2 bikes or so to break even for our first month.
Well, the expenses are greater initially.
Right. Yes.
Yeah. So we won't break even the first month.
No,
but
our monthly expense.
yeah, as if we were to amortize it out over a period of time, then we're getting closer to break even.
That's fantastic. You know, most people jump into, and I think Jerry, you could reiterate this on your end, but most people jump into retail and they don't get their return on investment for at least 3 years. So to turn around and say that, you know, your first month is a quote unquote break even month is fantastic. What do you think, Jerry?
No brainer.
Yeah. No brainer.
You're not going to be able to, you're never going to change the growth of a business one way or the other in terms of startup. Realistic expectations, I think, are extremely critical from the onset. And also, you know, keep in mind that to me, retail is not anything new, but it's new to a lot of people here.
Right.
So, you know, I know Kyle's involvement in California was in a retail environment. However, I think it's pretty safe to say that his expertise, the amount of time he spent technical, was probably more than sales end. And when you think about that, well, you know, being able to sell, whether you're in retail, whether you're in the airline industry, or whether you're in jewelry, it's the same formula for success. And what's happening here, I see personally that the most important thing above and beyond the people, the process is constantly getting implemented in terms of consistency with startup of each day, consistency in terms of what the store looks like and priorities, as well as how do we look before we open that door. And you know, it sounds pretty basic, but I've been inside many bike shops, many jewelry stores, and many businesses that don't, when you walk in the door, it's not inviting mentally to the customer before a word is even spoken. What they see and how they are impressed the minute they walk in the door or even up to the store is going to create the quasi environment and foundation for the relationship you're going to build with that customer. So if you look neat, if you look inviting, and you look like you really are in the business, and this store does, the element for successes are now in play. And so now it's a learning curve for people who haven't had experience in retail or in sales for all that matters. However, I think the learning curve will be rather quick here, because with anything that anybody undertakes, Joe, it's a matter of, do you want it? How bad do you want it? Okay. And in terms of that question, I don't think there's anybody here that doesn't want to just squeak by. I'm not a squeak by kind of guy, to be honest with you. You may have caught on to that.
I picked that up a couple calls ago.
Yeah, my expectations of anyone that's in an organization, that no one is beyond cleaning a bathroom, no one is beyond sweeping the floor or dusting the bikes,
Of course.
straighten the inventory. So, all of those things are happening, and that's one of the reasons, and the market's ready for it too.
Right.
The market of the baby boomer is right on cue. I experienced it this week and last week, and we're experiencing it every day. But the consistency in the phone being answered, the consistency in how customers approach, and listening. And even though you may not be directly involved with that customer on that particular event, everyone is listening to what's going on, so that we have discussion after the fact, and not a critique. A lot of people just don't understand the concept, Joe, that everyone is epically awful at this if they've never done it before. No one who is ever any good at this today was not epically suck a long time ago.
Exactly. Yeah. The way I call it is every master was once a disaster.
Exactly. And so if you're going to approach this from an ego standpoint, you might as well quit and be done with it, because if you're not willing to learn, and if you're not willing to get better at something, and it's the right thing to do, then, it's time to do something else. But that's not the case here. So it's not a mystery to me. And one of the concerns that everybody has is, are my expectations realistic for a startup? I think some of the answer to that question is yes in this forum. And some of the expectations are a little bit off, because if your store was absolutely finely tuned machine from a sales standpoint, from a merchandising standpoint, from a product standpoint, and a concern that I have is the pipeline of product coming forward, then yeah, your expectations should be high. But the results I believe that we're getting now are way ahead of Q. Way ahead of Q. And considering the obstacles of the sign, considering the growth as it relates to the internet, dealing with people in marketing, advertising, promoting, and if someone walks in that door, and that's the key. You got to get people through that door. And each bike that you sell, you're going to get 5 to 10 more people that are going to be talked to about that experience from that one person that bought a bike. Because everyone wants to share, for the most part, in their positive experiences, and you want to minimize or eliminate any negative experiences.
Yeah.
So I think the store is more than on the right track, and the willingness to merchandise it properly, the willingness to, I personally hate bureaucracy. I hate, forms and this and that and the other, but there are minimum amounts of those things that you must do, because the more you leave to memory, the more you're going to forget. So when it comes to selling, if you have a very busy selling floor, you're going to become quite good at what you do in a relative short period of time. But you don't want to use the customer coming in the door today as the proving ground to learning what you're doing. What you want to do, and I keep banging on this, and please excuse me for it, but role playing, I think, is critical. And from a standpoint, and approaching role playing, saying, hey, no one is going to be good at this on the onset, and you got to learn. Repetition is the key to the whole program, and the key. And you don't want to develop bad habits, because they're much harder to change than to creating good ones.
Agreed. Yeah, one of the things that that I want to reiterate that Jerry just mentioned, first of all, is the way that I look at role play is we want to role play to win. Oftentimes when I've visited stores, and I see this, and again, this is not you guys, it's not you, Grego, or Kyle, or Jerry. I'm saying simply that when I visited, for the stores that I have visited in my career, oftentimes the management and or the ownership, when we start doing a role play, they consistently want to trip up their staff in the role play so that they make mistakes. And the problem with that is, and I'm not suggesting that we don't throw curveballs once in a while, but the goal has to be role play to win so that you can ingrain the habits correctly so that you can win for real on the sales floor.
Exactly. Absolutely.
Yeah. So, and one of the things that you mentioned at the beginning is that, you know, the feel of the place, right? The way that you look, the way that the place looks, the way that our behaviors will have an effect, an emotional response. And, you know, I think just to clarify, I mean, people are making a decision to buy a Pedego from Pedego, Boca, Raton based on an emotional response after that test ride, and also based on the relationship that you have made with that person. This is all about deep relationships. I mean, this is really important. So what I want to do is I want to just take 2 minutes with you guys and just go over some quick notes about some of the things so that we can just jump in, because today we're going into the sales objection system, the SOS. We're going to focus our energies around that, and you're going to be able to walk away with this tool that is just been, you know, it is by far my most popular program that I do outside of the Army of One. And so I want to go over this review real quick. I'm going to move my screen over so you can see a little bit. We have your 4 quadrants here. And again, this is your to-do list that just over discussion over the last couple of calls that we discussed. We talked about putting up a map. Your map was the map up here where you would have, you know, just a map of where your store is located. And then for every range that you would go beyond that, you would show value, and you would put that up on your wall just to be able to not necessarily give it away for free, but at least you would have a map saying, hey, you know what, there's a cost for us to do a delivery if you're outside of our free zone. So that was something that we discussed. We also talked about having a service and VIP poster, which I have up here as well. Has that exercise been done? Have you guys called 5 or 6 other shops in the area just to see what they're charging for service?
Yes, we have. We actually had Jerry pose as a customer and try and get a couple of the prices.
Yeah.
We did come up with, you know, I don't know if you can see this on the camera, but we have our little sign here now.
That's great. Excellent.
Yeah, we have it so that it's, you know, $125 for electrical, $100 for mechanical, and then it's $75 per hour for both mechanical and electrical labor for VIP members. Right. Then we have our 3 different tune-up costs, and if you're VIP, you get 25% off the tune-up cost.
I like the peace sign. That's great.
That was my dad's idea. I don't know how I felt about that when he first put it on there. But yeah, and then the map, we're still working on the map. We're going to go to Kinko's and get a large map printed out. And we're actually going to do 2 of them. One for the shipping areas and another one of a couple different highlighted bike routes leaving from our store.
The other thing that you might want to consider, and again, this is, you know, more of the longer term. This is the beauty of the urgent, important, non-urgent, non-important. Is you could say, you know what, one of the things that we could add to our list from a service perspective, because there are mobile service companies out there, is for your clients, would you offer a service where we come to you, but for a fee? VeloFix is a company that's based on that. And you know what? Many of the customers that you have would love the idea of, hey, you know what? Instead of me having the inconvenience of me coming to the shop, I will pay a premium to have someone come over to my home. Now, again, you can't match the shop rates. You absolutely have to charge I would call it a super premium, but there are people that are willing to pay it. So you have to have that profit margin built in, not just to cover expenses, but you need to make that profitable. But if that's something that you want to throw up on your list, like right now, that could be non-important, right?
So we do want to offer that. Do you think that should be the same price as the delivery fee, or do you think it should be more or less?
It's a great question, and I think the answer to that is I would research what VeloFix, Beeline, and any other mobile company is charging, I would base my answer on what that data is. And so, because ultimately, if the picture and the sound don't match in the sense of profitability, then don't do it, right? Because the benefit of having people come into the store when they need service is now they're in the store. Just as Jerry was mentioning earlier, there's a feel of the store that you can't, unfortunately, bring out to a person's home. You can have a wonderful cube van with, decked out with all of this service array and everything else, but you're not going to have all of the accessories and the look and feel of your actual location, all packed into a small truck. However, there could be an opportunity. So my suggestion would be, and I'm just going to put in, again, this is like non-important, based on everything else that you want happening in your business right now that's going to generate income. I'm going to put mobile service, and I'll send you guys a photo of this. But now you can see, like, so you've got your urgent, important, non-urgent, non-important. It's on your list, but you don't have to hit mobile service right now because you need human resource, you need a truck, you need to have all the service tools put in there. This is a for later project, but it's a good idea to have because, again, your consumer would be open to that. We talked about setting up a YouTube channel, and this was important, but it wasn't urgent. Tour insurance was something that you were going to look into. Group rides was in the non-urgent quadrant. Setting up tours, food tours, and then now we've added mobile service. But I think it's great. You've already taken the steps of getting some of the things off of your urgent list, so well done, gentlemen. Absolutely great. We talked about, I'm using your notes for my notes, the importance of automate, delegate, and eliminate. I know that Shauna reached out to you for lead cycles. That's going to take about 5 business days to create the account. So again, I'm going to add an extra call for a training call to make sure that we integrate this correctly for you.
Is there anything for me to get back to Shauna on?
I think the only thing, as long as you click the PayPal button to initiate the creation of the account, and if that hasn't happened, then
I don't know if I did or not. I thought it was automated.
Yeah, that's okay. I mean, I can promise you, if it hasn't been clicked, Shauna will. She's on it. Yeah,
because we haven't taken that next step in our that process, to my knowledge.
As I look at our notes here, I mean, I'll make sure that we've integrated this. I'm just going to move my handy dandy notepad and look at my calendar. Yeah, we're booked all the way on Mondays till the 12th, so we'll definitely be able to integrate this in easily because we're already there. But I want to make sure that we have everybody, how to put the icon on your phone, where you should put your rental waiver. And I'll wait till you're set up to do that. Because if I talk about it today, it's just going to be repeat for next time. So Shauna will definitely make sure she'll follow up with you. We talked about stepping out of your comfort zone. That gets you into your money zone, get your happy clients. We talked about the service thing just now. Butts on bikes, absolutely critical. I want to discuss your customer, which is, your boomer, 60-year-old, average age, upper middle class, 100K plus. They're affluent. They have health issues, mostly couples, and they're negotiators. And we're going to jump into the SOS in a quick minute. We talked about your template. The acknowledge, hey, hello, fun. Be with you in a quick moment, giving them a moment to breathe, check out your store, measuring the metrics, having people walk in and counting the number of people, asking them if it's their first time in, how do they hear about you specifically, and making a note of it using your daily metrics tracker, and then getting them on a bike immediately so that you can get the follow-up information quickly. And then adding those 6 questions, which are, so who's the bike for, who else is going to use it? And I'll share my screen just so that we have those questions up. And I'll just get this here, have this right here. So, and I'll put this a little bit bigger so we can see it together. So who's the bike for, who else is going to use it, how are we going to use it, where are you going to be riding? And we're asking that question if it's gravel, if it's dirt, if it's paved. How far is your typical ride going to be? Do you plan to ride alone, or will you be riding in a group? The reason we ask that question is because Pedego has the pod. So you want to be able to talk about the benefits of an intangible, right? It's not just about specs. It's not about features. Now it's about the feel of being able to be part of something as a club. And then finally, the big one, any health issues that I need to know about, you can use, going from bottom to top, ankles, knees, hips, spine, heart, or lung. And then again, now we come back to, based on what you've just told me, we're using the, right, best, better, good, either or concept. Let me show you the options for you. And now, what we do, now that we've gone to best, better, good, or either or, we get them to go on a true extended test ride. And gentlemen, every time that somebody goes out on a ride, we leave them alone. I mean, you can choose. A lot of stores, they say, Joe, we really want to ride with people, and that's fine. I prefer, and I'm not suggesting that it's bad to go riding with people. I think it's great. I prefer to definitely give people the option to be alone. Like, I will step away. I'll say, one of the little jokes that I repeatedly would say is, I'm going to go see if my desk is still there. I'll be right back. Because I would give people that time to get, without that sales guy being around, right? We want to be able to have that, I'm not in your bubble, and I want you to reflect. And the best time to do that is when they go out for a ride. So that when they come back, we can ask the question, hey, Kyle, right? Highest energy wins. Hey, Kyle, how'd it go? Well, obviously, they're on a Pedego. Oh, it was awesome. Great. You want to take it? And I'm thinking, we got this, because I know that when you take this home, my product, the Pedego electric bike, is going to exceed your expectations. And guys, I don't think there's anything wrong with saying that. You know what? I've said this several times on the sales floor, and I mean it from the bottom of my heart. Folks, I promise you, this bike will exceed your expectations. And there's not a lot of things out there, as far as products, in my experience, that will exceed people's expectations like a Pedego electric bike will. And that really soothes people's, minds. We want to be able to, the fear that people have is that they're going to make a bad decision. That's where we jump into the SOS, right? I want to go home and think about it. I want to go home and do some research. I need to speak to my spouse. Your product's too expensive. What kind of deal can you give me? We're jumping right into the SOS right now. So let me get this out of the way and explain to you guys what's going on with this. By the way, some of the other notes that I think that are great, I love the fact that you guys have this great target of 20 bikes a month. And Jerry, I love the way that you put it. You said this hitting $1 million is not going to be very difficult at 20 bikes a month. I love it. And I agree. And I'll give you kudos, gentlemen, is that the fact that you have a target of $1 million, you're ahead of most stores. A lot of stores will say, I think, and it's like, listen, the moment that I hear I think, I know that they don't have an actual target. I think we want to do maybe about 10 bikes a month. What do you think, guys? It's like, no. Take, Grego, the fact that you said, we're doing this is our number. And Jerry, you reiterated it. This is going to be easy. We can do this. Love it. And this tool that I'm about to show you is going to help you get there. So this is called the SOS. Can I do the SOS PowerPoint with you guys?
No.
Excellent. We're going to jump into it. Let me get it ready for you. So it's 5 quick minutes here. It's going to explain to you what the SOS is and how it works. So let me share my screen with you guys. I've got it prepared here. All right, let's start from the beginning. So the sales objection system, this is, I actually do this particular presentation when I end up doing webinars. So when I'm asked to meet with coaches or with other businesses, and they want to be able to have people come in what I call the SOS dojo, and it's a 30 minutes a week role-playing space that we handle the toughest objections, again, on a weekly basis. And I mean, I've got some people that are black belts and I've got some people that are new, and it doesn't matter. I mean, as Jerry mentioned before, I mean, even for myself, and I've been in sales for a very long time, guys, I still don't know it all, and I know as long as I'm consistently practicing, I'm always getting better. It's no different than meditation. Like when you say, oh, I don't have time to practice, like I don't have time to meditate, and the guru will say, okay, well then you better meditate twice as much. So ready to make more sales without any more money spent on ads, and do you want to have more happy customers? And by the way, just as a little hint here, guys, anytime you get a good testimonial, you want to save it. So you can see here, here's what Don DiCostanzo, co-founder and CEO of Pedego Electric Bikes, said something quite nice about me. And I said, Don, can I use this in my presentations? He said, absolutely. He says here, Joe Marcoux, the best sales trainer I've seen, and I've seen a lot of them. So of course I'm going to put that up. Save every testimonial possible and use them because it's social proof. So you've come to the right place, folks. I'm Joe Marcoux. I'm the author of How to Be an Army of One and Boutique Thinking in a Big Box World. These are some of my clients. I'm going to do this quick, guys, because I want to jump into the role play. All my clients are saying the same thing. I want more traffic, and I want more leads, and I want more sales. And the metrics tell me a different story. The metrics actually show us that, again, pre-COVID, only 5% were buying, 5% of people were buying in an electric bike store on the first visit, which meant that 95 people out of 100 weren't buying on the first visit. Now, again, post-COVID, as we are into COVID, I've heard some stores, because they're by appointment only and people have done their research, and Pedego's got such a great brand, they're getting 50% of the people buying on the first visit, which is fantastic. But it still means that 50 people out of 100 are leaving without purchasing. So you've got two solutions. You can either follow up, or improve your skills. And so in this case, you know, you're already on the road of doing both, which is outstanding, gentlemen. You're coming out of the gate running. I'm already proud of you. Honestly, it's fantastic. So improving your sales skills require you to train, get experience, get good people. And then the outcome is this. You get happy customers, you're making more money, and Grego, don't worry, it's coming. Lower stress. Right here, the stress ball. It's all good. So the goal now is know your metrics. Talking about measuring your metrics, counting the number of people, finding out where the marketing's coming from and what's working, getting people's follow-up information, which you're now set up with lead cycles, and then measuring those daily sales to cross-reference everything. I talked about this briefly earlier. I said it's not about feature dumping. And FDS stands for Feature Dumping Syndrome. And there are a lot of bike shops that do this. They talk about the supply voltage and the input voltage while the battery capacity range, you know what? You're barfing all over the customer, and they don't want to know that. What the truth is that they want a relationship. They want to get on the bike. They want to know if it's fun. So if you go into feature dumping syndrome, they don't care. People don't buy what you sell, they buy why you sell it. If you haven't read the book, Start With Why, that was the first question I asked you guys when we started this whole thing 3 weeks ago, is why are you guys doing this? And you have powerful whys. And your customers are in the same boat. They don't buy what, they buy why. So we need to earn the right to ask. And how do we do that? We need to ask questions, we need to listen, we need to understand, and then we take action. And that action step is asking for the sale. And this is where a lot of people get afraid. I talked about it earlier about getting outside of your comfort zone to get to your money zone. We need to ask. And we need to ask typically 5 times. We're going to hear no. It takes 5 times minimum to get to a yes. And that's okay. The challenge is we reach to this point where we earn the right to ask. We counter objections. We encounter these objections, and then we feel this vast array of emotions. And if you look at this person here, they look sad. They're red in the face. They feel embarrassed. They may even feel ashamed. They're brokenhearted. I just want you to remember, though, that these are emotions. Emotions aren't right, and emotions aren't wrong. They're not good or bad. They just are, right? An objection is not a rejection. So we could have experiences from our past that can negatively affect our present and even make us think about a negative future. An objection is not a rejection. The goal of the SOS is it allows us to build up your emotional resilience. And how do you build up resilience? Well, you've got to, focus on optimism. You've got to be able to, have the ability to solve problems and building mostly your emotional awareness. So objections are a stalling tactic. How many of you have ever babysat before? I'm sure Kyle, when he was younger, Grego, did he ever say, I don't want to go to sleep?
Oh, once or twice. Still does that.
So you get the baby as the example, right? And kids are fantastic salespeople, but they're also amazing at throwing objections at you. Like this little guy might say, I'm not tired. I want mommy. I want daddy. Tell me a story. I got to go to the bathroom. I'm thirsty. I'm hungry. And the list goes on. Meanwhile, hey, little person, you need to go to sleep. Objections can be also right out BS, flat out. And they can also be a source of habit, by the way. Some people just lie out of habit. They come into a store. You've had people walk in with a purpose, but if you ask them the wrong question, such as, and Jerry's going to cringe when I say it, can I help you? What do people say when you say, can I help you? Nope.
No.
Right? It's a force of habit. And the reason it's a habit is a lot of us have encountered a salesperson that we don't want to deal with, that we've had a bad experience. The goal, I think we can all agree, is right here. It's win-win. Win-win in the sense that I'm going to provide you value, and then you're going to provide me the revenue in that value. Price is what you pay, value is what you get. So remember, no is no for now. No is just no for now. If somebody's saying no to you, it means that we need to be able to uncover and or provide them the information that they're looking for. We need to uncover what that objection is and solidify that we can provide them the solution. So what is the SOS? The sales objection system. It's not sink or swim. It's simple. And there's a book that I read back in 2004 from Tom Peters called Reimagine. And in that book, he said, simplicity is elegance, and the SOS is absolutely simple. It's a two-step system, guys, and you'll be able to use this formula for every objection you ever encounter. And step one is acknowledge. Step two is ask a question. So step one, acknowledge. Step two, ask a question. I'll do it one more time, guys. Step one, acknowledge. Step two, ask a question. It's that simple. Now, hang on a second, guys, because this is where people make the mistake. This is where people trip up all the time with the SOS. They think, well, if that's the formula, pretty easy, Joe. Thanks a lot. See you later. Bye. It's not the formula that matters. It's our emotional response that matters. This is why we practice. This is why, like Jerry said at the beginning, when you first start handling objections, you're going to suck. The reason that you practice is so that when you're on the floor in real life, you don't suck, that you're going to absolutely crush it. It's no different than when you start doing videos for the first time in front of, or if you do public speaking for the first time, or you start doing videos with your camera for the first time, and you're going to put it up on YouTube. You're going to suck at it at first. No worries. When emotions go up, here's the reality of why you're going to suck at it at first. When emotions go up, intelligence goes down. So when emotion is too high, intellect is way too low. And emotional responses will come in a variety of different forms. I mean, I don't know if you guys have ever had that happen where you're in the middle of a conversation with somebody and all of a sudden they just walk for what seemingly is no apparent reason. And you've spent a lot of time with them. You could feel outrage. Now, hopefully you guys don't ever feel like you want to, shoot a customer. But Jerry, in your career, have you ever had a moment where you couldn't believe what came out of a customer's mouth after 35 years in the jewelry industry?
Absolutely. They're thinking, it's like you're right in the middle of a movie. You're 75% through. You're starting to understand the plot, and then the channel changes.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like what the F happened just now?
Totally. Totally.
And you look into the customer's eyes, and it looks like they're not there. They're
Right.
not there. Yeah.
Awesome.
Not uncommon.
So, you know, the emotion that we need to deal with most as salespeople is fear. And even, I'll tell you, myself, asking for the sale, I can sometimes feel this weird tension. Just because I feel it doesn't mean I can't move forward. And by the way, sometimes I hear that little voice in my head. We all have that little voice. You know that little voice that right now is saying, what little voice? That one in your head right now? That one, right? The master, as Yoda would be, said it best, you know, fear leads to anger, anger leads to hate, hate leads to suffering. And it does, right? And I will be at the comedy club on the weekend. An objection is not a rejection, guys. So just remember that. You know, so the SOS comes in to save our sales. And the skill of the SOS will allow you to be calm under pressure. It doesn't mean that you won't feel those emotions. You will. It's just a question of when we practice this on a regular basis, you are going to be able to be in control. And we're going to work on the 3 biggest ones. And if we have time, we can work on some other objections. Again, guys, the steps are acknowledge and ask a question. The goal is practice. One of the things that we did at Fitness Depot on Saturday mornings, I would come in with coffee and donuts. I know it's a fitness store. We showed up with donuts, but I was, you know, very young at the time, and my metabolism allowed me to burn donuts like it was water. So we would practice. We would start off our Saturday morning meeting pre-opening the store with what was in stock. We did a SWOT. And the SWOT, by the way, stood for SWAT, not SWOT. Right? You can do a SWOT analysis, which we can actually on another call, which is strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. But the SWOT analysis that we did was sell what's available today. We would look at what was in inventory, and we would go, okay, and if we had any inventory that was slow moving, we would sometimes put a spiff on it to incentivize our sales team to be able to move some of that inventory out. Whether it's, you know, in the example for you guys, hey, we got some extra seafoam Pedegos in stock. Let's make sure that we show the ladies these bikes today, as opposed to just going for white and black, as an example. But again, we have to practice. So we would also go through our biggest objections, practice them so that we would build up our confidence, and then we would be ready. So again, when you practice alone, and then you rehearse as a group, so that when you get to showtime, you get a standing ovation. And a standing ovation in sales is when you get the contract, when somebody says, I'll take it. Fantastic, congratulations. Welcome to the Pedego family. So we want to avoid that emotional roller coaster. I do not want to see you guys go up in flames. And it is a mind game. It's an absolute mind game. So what objections are you going to hear? And I would do this in again, a webinar, so you don't have to write it in the chat. We're going to go over a process here. So here's an example of one that we hear often. Wow, man, these bikes are expensive. Like, this is really expensive. Going back, what's the process? Step 1, acknowledge. Step 2, ask a question, right? The power of our words makes it, I can't say this enough, guys. And I'm a big fan of neuro-linguistic programming. I love wordplay and how it can influence and impact and persuade people. So let's look at the power of the words when somebody says your product's too expensive, right? Keeping in mind that the way that we communicate according to Moravian's rule is 7% words, 38% tone, and 55% body language. So part of this is going to also work when you give good phone, which we'll talk about on the next call. So again, step 1, your product's too expensive. Hey, thanks for letting me know how you feel. Because It's their opinion. Wow, your product's really expensive. Hey, thanks for letting me know how you feel. What exactly are we comparing it to? Your product's too expensive. Hey, Kyle, I really appreciate you letting me know how you feel. I'm curious, what exactly are we comparing it to? Now, again, I'm using the word we. I want to be very clear here. You know, this is being exclusive. If you say to somebody, the typical response, by the way, again, remember, the fear that people have is the emotional response. You're a Pedego store. As a Pedego store, Grego, do you love your Pedego bikes?
Yes.
Do you believe that what you're bringing to the table the offer that you have with every price that you have on the floor is of great value to every customer walking in?
Absolutely.
So that being the case, wouldn't it be logical, based on everything you just said, you believe in the value, and yet emotionally, if somebody turns around and gets in your grill and says, your product's expensive, we might feel a little insulted with that. And so the response that I've heard often on people's sales floors in a variety of retail locations and over 1,000 bike shops, and I've already stood in Pedego stores where somebody says, wow, this bike's a lot of money. And then they just go, well, compared to what? Or what are you comparing it to? Like, what are you comparing it to? And if you use the word you are actually pushing somebody away. What are you comparing it to? However, if you just paused and acknowledge, say, hey, you know what? Thanks for letting me know how you feel. And be inclusive and say, we, that one word shift, right? The old way was, you know, your product's too expensive. What are you comparing it to? Or compared to what? It's, hey, thanks for letting me know how you feel. What exactly are we comparing it to? Because when I use we, I'm going to be inclusive. I'm going to, and the subconscious mind picks up on all of this, guys. And that's the beauty of this. I want to work with you. So I'm going to say, well, all right, thanks for letting me know how you feel, Grego. I'm curious, what exactly are we comparing this to? And know this, objections will have disguises. You know, an objection such as your product's too expensive could be, you know, wow, your product's really expensive? This is a lot of money. Or, are you serious? How much? Are you nuts? It still comes back to the same. Thanks for letting me know how you feel. What exactly are we comparing it to? And here's what's interesting. 9 times out of 10, when you get somebody onto a Pedego and then they ask you about the price, and if they react, wow, this is a lot of money. This is expensive. And you say, well, thanks for letting me know how you feel. I'm curious, what exactly are we comparing it to? The answer is, I don't know. Because some people are walking into your location with a preconceived notion that an electric bike is a bicycle, and it might be an extra couple $100 more. It might be $1,000. It's certainly not 4,000. So we need to be able to build up that value. And again, popular objections. Your product's too expensive. I want to go home and do some research. I never buy anything this expensive without sleeping on it. I'm not interested. My spouse will need to decide. And what kind of deal can you give me? So we're going to cover 3 today, big time, and then we have time, we'll go over some more. And again, SOS will also work with upset clients. And I'll give you a hint in terms of how that works. I was in Delaware with a fitness company, and their head of service was actually from New Jersey. And I was walking by the service area, and they had 17 locations back then, this company called Leisure Fitness. And all I heard was the service guy go, well, yeah? Well, you suck. And he hung up the phone. And I was like, whoa! And I turned back, and I went back into the service area, and I'm like, hey, man, I got to ask, what happened? And he said, well, the customer just told me that our service department sucked. He had an emotional response. And he went, yeah? Well, you suck. I said, you need to come with me. I'm doing this thing called the SOS with the rest of the team, and you need to come with me, and we're going to practice this. He took it personally, right? Acknowledge, ask a question. Your service department sucks. Wow, obviously something happened here to make you feel this way. Can I ask you what specifically happened? That's it. And let him go. An upset client just wants to vent to someone. For 30 seconds, you're just going to have to take a whole bunch of crap from somebody and then just go, acknowledge, yeah. What else happened? Okay, thank you. Okay, I appreciate you letting me know all of this stuff. Okay, based on everything that you just told me, I think we can come up with a solution. I just want to be clear. What would be a win-win for us to come up with a solution here? Notice that I didn't say, what would I need to do to make you happy? Because if I ask that question, you know there's going to be some clients that are going to say, I want a free bike. They might have bought a bike from you 2 years ago, and they might have had a flat. And because of a flat, they want a brand new bike. Like, guys, there's going to be some people that are just completely unreasonable. So coming back to win-win, acknowledge, ask the question. So acknowledge, you know what? Thanks for letting me know that all this situation happened. And I definitely want to be able to come to a solution here. What would be a win-win for both of us? So if somebody says, I want a free bike, you could say, I can appreciate that you want a free bike. Unfortunately, that is not a win-win. What would be a win-win? And then come up with a solution. Again, this works with upset clients really well. And you can make a game out of this, guys. You could play the SOS and throw objections at each other all day long or passing by and, hey, your product's too expensive. Hey, thanks for letting me know how you feel. What exactly are you comparing it to? Just so that you have it in muscle memory, right? I want to go home and do some research. Totally appreciate that you want to be well informed. What is it specifically you want to research that you and I didn't get a chance to talk about today? And I'll go over and I'm going to give you guys the script, so don't worry about that.
Okay,
No, I want you to write it down anyways, guys, because you know what? Confucius say bad handwriting better than good memory, number one. And number two, as you write it down, it's going to get put into the memory bank. So it's good. So I appreciate you writing it down. The SOS helps you build KLT, which is know, like, or know, love, and trust, and that gets people to buy. And what's the point of it all? It's building deep relationships with your clients so that they, obviously, the more bikes you sell, the more bikes that people buy, the more people they're going to tell about your great location with the great people in it. And again, you're going to hear no 5 times before you get to yes. So just be prepared for that. It's okay. No just means no for now. Does that make sense, guys, so far?
yes.
Excellent. So when I do the webinar, I usually tell people you have a choice. Take the information and run with it, or then, and I'm going to get out of this screen so that, and then I pitch my SOS dojo. We're not pitching the dojo. We're going into the program with you right now. So again, SOS, step 1 is acknowledge. Step 2 is ask a question. So I'm going to give you guys that in blue. Ask a question. All right. I'm going to put this up on screen, and we're going to do one objection at a time. And I've got this right here. Grego, I will send you this after our call today.
Okay, very good.
Yeah. These are the 3 most common objections for Pedego dealers. We're going to start off with, we're actually going to do number 1, then number 3, then come back to number 2. Because what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how when somebody says, I want to go home and do some research, we're actually going to build a policy around how to be able to get them to negotiate the deal. And you'll see where I'm going with this. But first things first, I want to practice your product's too expensive. So I'm going to put this in here, and I'll just get to send objections to Grego and Kyle. All right. So guys, you can write these ones down for now, and you'll get them later today. So again, we're going to start off with your product is too expensive, and this is how we're going to play it. I just want you to read the words word for word. And I want to be clear. Some people don't like the idea of scripting. The goal behind this is for you to understand the process and get the gist of what the script is, but then be authentic with it and be yourselves. A great example of this is there's a movie called The Score with Marlon Brando, Robert De Niro, and Edward Norton. Like, these are 3 amazing actors. They were given a script. They would take 4 to 5 takes every time. On the 5th take, the director would say, okay, guys, you can improvise on this one. So you can imagine that they already know that what the direction and where the movie and where the scene is supposed to go. What's interesting about the movie The Store, if you ever see it, is over 90% of the film is all of the improvised scenes. So those cuts were the finished product. But they started off with a script. And this is why, just like a piece of music, you want to practice the notes, learning the notes from me, but then I want you to play the music the way that you want to play it. It's no different than, Bob Dylan wrote All Along the Watchtower. Jimi Hendrix plays All Along the Watchtower a little bit differently than Bob Dylan. And it's a beautiful song. They're both great songs. They're just played differently. I want you to play it differently, but I want you to know the notes first. Does this make sense, guys?
Yes.
Yeah? Because there are some people that tell me, I don't want to be a robot, and I'm not going to, it's like, listen, it's not about being robotic. It's just about getting the practice in so that you build up your emotional resilience, right? So let's start with this, guys. And I know it may seem tedious to start, but I promise you this will pay huge dividends. So, Grego, we'll start with you. And you can read it word for word just to practice right now. I'm going to put this up a little bit bigger so you can see it. So, Grego, your product's too expensive.
Thank you for letting me know how you feel. What exactly are we comparing it to?
Excellent. Kyle, your product's too expensive.
Thank you for letting me know how you feel. What exactly are we comparing it to?
Excellent. Jerry, your product's too expensive.
Thank you for letting me know how you feel. What exactly are we comparing it to?
Nice tone. Love it. Grego, are you serious? Is this in pesos? Like, this is crazy, man.
Yes, we can sell you this bike in pesos. We accept all denominations, but I think you'll be very happy with the product because value is what you pay, price is what you pay, value is what you get. I mean, I have to work on that.
So what I want you to do, Grego, is go right back to, regardless of what the goal here is, and I threw you a little curve.
It's on the script.
Right here. Follow this.
Yeah, there we go. Thank you for letting me know how you feel. What exactly are we comparing it to?
Absolutely. Yeah, and because you will hear this sometimes. You may have somebody who gets seemingly angry with you, and then that incites an emotional response within us so that, hey, your product's you guys are nuts.
So the reason why I said what I did is I thought sometimes you'll get that repeat question. And, they'll make that statement again of, still your product is too expensive. And if you come back with a robotic answer exactly that you just did, you're screwed. Because
why we practice this, though. And I'm not dismissing what you're saying. If somebody says, well, yeah, but this is still a lot of money. And it's like, well, tell you what, how about we get you onto a test ride so you can see the value in it?
Right. That's a good, yeah.
The goal, first step, we're going to take the baby steps before we start. In the SOS dojo, what we do is we call sparring. But before I get anybody, it's like the Karate Kid. Before the Karate Kid could start going in and sparring with people, he had to learn how to wax on, wax off. He didn't know what the heck was going on. Then it was paint the fence, right? But once you get the steps here, you'll see where we're going. So, Kyle, I got to tell you, dude, this is crazy money, man.
Thank you for letting me know how you feel. What exactly are we comparing it to?
Jerry, you know what? I had no idea that these bikes were this much money.
Thank you for letting me know how you feel. What exactly are we comparing it to?
Grego, you know what? I just think these bikes are they're too expensive.
Thank you for letting me know how you feel. What exactly are we comparing it to?
Kyle, you know what? These bikes, it's just too much money.
Thank you for letting me know how you feel. What exactly are we comparing it to?
Jerry, you know what? I think I could buy diamonds for less money than these bikes.
You absolutely could. But the quality that you will get will not be surpassed by the quality of this bike. But I want to let you know that I appreciate you for letting me know how you feel. What exactly are you comparing it to?
Nicely done, Jerry. You're on fire. Okay, guys. So how do you feel about these words right now? Pretty comfortable that you know them?
Yes.
Yeah? You've probably written them down anyways on a sheet of paper. So here's how we're going to play this. Again, the goal of the SOS is, and right now you're in the dojo with me, I'm going to put a little bit of pressure on you. And this is what I mean. You'll see that Jerry, because he's a sales veteran, there's no hesitation. There's no pause. There's no there's no but. And even if there is, it's very fluid. This is exactly what we're going to do. When you put pressure on a salesperson during practice, we can, to use the Jerry term here, I'm going to take the lump of coal and I'm going to turn it into a diamond under pressure. And so the goal right now, guys, is you know the script. All I want you to do is, and we're going to do this back and forth, you're going to say the words without but, or stuttering. If you do, we're all going to hold each other accountable, myself included. We're going to say stop. And I just want you to know, this is a safe place to make mistakes. We're all going to screw up here, guys. It's okay. It's totally okay. All right? It's okay. This is a safe place to make mistakes, and I'm going to make some as well. So just as an example, if I go first, so Grego, you're going to say, Joe, your product's too expensive. And if I stammer, stutter, but, whatever, all of you and myself included would say, stop. And then, Grego, you'll say, your product's too expensive until I get it right. And then I'll throw it back to you. And you guys will be able to do this when you're not on this call. So, Grego, go ahead and start with me. You'll see what I mean. Go ahead. Say your product's too expensive to me.
I've been looking at a lot of bikes, and it seems like these Pedegos are very expensive compared to what I can get on the internet.
Okay, so now that's a different objection. So what you're doing is you're actually telling me that the product's too expensive, and you're already letting me know what exactly I'm comparing it to. So
right.
I'm hearing
That's a comment we get here.
Okay. We'll get to that. All I want you to say is right now your product's too expensive. I just want you to practice the script, Grego. So just tell me, Joe, your product's
way too expensive.
Well, thanks for letting me know how you feel. Stop. Say it again.
Your product is way too expensive.
Well, thanks for letting me know how you feel. I'm curious, what exactly are...
Stop.
Say it again.
Your products are very expensive.
Thanks for letting me know how you feel. What exactly are we comparing it to? Grego, your product's too expensive.
You want me to do it again? Your product's way too expensive.
Thanks for letting me know how you feel, Grego. What exactly are we comparing it to? Grego, your product's too expensive.
Thank you for letting me know how you feel. What exactly are we comparing it to?
Nice. Kyle, your product's too expensive.
Thank you for letting me know how you feel. What exactly are we comparing it to?
Nicely done. Jerry, your product's way too expensive, man.
Thank you for letting me know how you feel.
I hate to do it to you, buddy, but I have to do it. Jerry, your product's too expensive.
Thank you for letting me know how you feel. What exactly are we comparing it to?
Nice. Boom. Good job. So now, so you guys have this one, right? You got it. Took us 10 minutes. We've gone through all of the SOS. We've got one simple objection. Grego, you brought up a good point, so I want to touch upon this one because if you're hearing this one often, we might as well just jump right into it. So when you get somebody who says, your product's too expensive, and you say, well, thanks for letting me know how you feel, what exactly are you comparing it to? And they turn around and they say, well, I found bikes online for way cheaper. Is that how it's flowing?
No, they start off with, I found a lot of bikes a lot cheaper. I mean, that's their lead. You know, they don't even start with this is way too expensive. It's a combined.
So if they're saying they found bikes a lot cheaper, then it's like, hey, you know what? I appreciate that you've done your research. What bikes in particular have you seen?
Right. And I've done that, exactly. And normally it's rad.
Because what you'll find by doing what you're doing, what you're going to find is they're not, and we're not going to talk about the negative, they're not comparing apples to apples.
Correct. Just for the sake of this exercise, so you guys know it, and again, you guys are going to have the recording, so this is about an hour in, so you'll be able to review it, is
All right.
when somebody does mention RAD, and I've personally had this experience, and this was before Pedego Dunedin went up in flames. Well, they didn't go up in flames; they went up in smoke because they had a battery fire, and unfortunately they didn't reopen because of it, which is unfortunate because of insurance. So, however, I was at their location. I was doing training live. Obviously, this is over a year ago, pre-COVID. And I had somebody go up on a boomerang, and then it wasn't the appropriate bike, so then I put them on a trike, because this gentleman was in his late 70s, and he had bad knees, bad hips. And keeping in mind, RAD doesn't have a trike. It doesn't matter. She asked, so it was for him, but his wife says, well, how much is it? And I said, they had customized this bike out. It was $34.95. I know that the trike is $29.95, correct?
Right, the base.
But they had tricked it out $34.95. And she said, $34.95, I could go online and get a RAD for less than half that price. Again, I didn't jump into the fact that RAD didn't have a trike. That wasn't the point. I went this tactic, using SOS. And her name was Mary. And I said, Mary, you know what? I totally appreciate that you're doing your research. So I'm acknowledging her. I'm not getting emotionally respondent here. I'm actually complimenting her with my acknowledgement. Mary, I totally appreciate that you're doing your research. How important is local service to you? This is where Pedego dealers, again, taking a step back, and I'm offering you from a lens from the outside, right? As your coach, I'm looking at it from a perspective of the Pedego dealer gets emotionally attached. Grego, I asked you the question earlier. Do you believe in the value that you're bringing to the table with your Pedego bikes? You said absolutely. You also have, you've come together with, you've already done your service and VIP poster. Most dealers, the way they respond when they say, when they hear, I can get a RAD for half the price, this is how they respond, I swear to God. Well, you know, if you buy that online, you're not going to be able to get service anywhere. And if you're the consumer, how do you think they're going to feel about that? What do you think the response is?
Probably not positive on that.
It's
Right.
not. It's not. The goal is get the consumer to reflect on what the possible outcome would be if they were to buy it online. So again, hey, you know what? I totally appreciate that you're doing your research. How important is local service to you? Guess what her response was? It was pause, and then she went, yeah, it's really important. I said, okay, great. I said, you notice all of these bikes that we have here in stock? She said, yeah. I said, every one of them requires maintenance, regular maintenance, not service. They require maintenance. Would you like to know the difference between maintenance and service? She said, sure. I said, like a car, an automobile requires an oil change on occasion. Because what happens when you don't change the oil in your car? What would happen to the engine? She said, well, it would probably blow up. I said, exactly. And that service would cost you way more than the regular maintenance. I said, if you buy your bike online, where do you plan on getting maintenance and or service in the future? She didn't have an answer, and I swear to God, her husband pulled out the credit card and said, we're doing it now.
That's excellent. I really like that scenario, so I'm going to look
Yeah.
back at this.
That's really good scenario.
Because what it does is what we do is we allow the person that we're having this conversation with to come up with the answer. As opposed, remember, gentlemen, telling is not selling. If I tell you, if you buy that bike online, you're not going to be able to get local service. Asking questions is truly selling. So when I ask you a question, do you notice how I hook your mind? Like I just did?
All right.
It's exactly the same thing. folks, I really appreciate that you're doing some research. I'm curious, how important is local service to you? Now, do you think that I encountered this objection before and I just flew off the handle? No, I encountered this objection once before, and I completely, pardon my French, I shit the bed. I wasn't ready. I had never encountered it before. So what did I do? Somebody said rad power. I said, okay, how do I acknowledge this one? So I wrote down on a 3x5 card the objection, and then I wrote down how do I acknowledge it, and then I asked the question that would be appropriate. You now have the formula to be able to work through objections in the future, and as a team, you could do it. Again, I have people that come into the dojo, and we practice different objections that they go, oh my God, that's a good one. Oh yeah, I should practice that one. Well, and then of course I keep people very accountable. So if I were to say to you, Grego, you know what? I could buy a rad power for half the price. What would you say to me? Do you have it written down?
I appreciate the fact that you've done a lot of research into the product. What exactly, no, I haven't got it down,
Yeah.
sorry.
How important is service to you? How important is local service to you?
How important is local service to you or a 5-year warranty?
Nice. Nice. Even just asking the question, don't worry about telling me about the 5-year warranty yet. Because
Okay.
that could be an additional question. For example, but I appreciate you bringing that up, Greg. It could be, you know what? I appreciate the fact that you're doing your research. That's awesome. How important is local service to you when you purchase a bike? And then they'll answer, and then you could say, okay, that's, again, acknowledge. Okay, that's fantastic. How long a warranty would you be getting on a bike online?
1 year. Roughly about 1 year.
Okay. Okay, 1 year. Well, at least 1 year is certainly better than no years. If you had a choice, would you prefer to have a 1-year warranty or an industry-leading 5-year warranty? What would you prefer?
5. Hands
So I'm
down.
asking you the question in the form of a statement, and I'm proving the point, but it's in the form of a question. You guys understand that?
Right, that's
And
good.
we got to just practice it so that when you do encounter it, you got it. You got it. Okay? All right. Let's jump back in here, gentlemen. You've got the first one down. We've added an added bonus of, hey, I've seen rad power, which is great. I want to go to this one here. This may seem a little wordy. You can write this one down. I want to go home and do some research. I want to be, by the way, I'm going to stop screen share here for a quick second. I want to go home and do some research is total bullshit. Pardon my French, but, and I'm French Canadian, it's Joël Marcoux instead of Joe Marcoux, but so I can say this. But the truth is guys, that when somebody says I want to go home and do some research, the truth of the matter is they want to go online and see if they can find it cheaper.
That's right. I agree.
I've seen stores, I've been standing in stores and I'm pulling what, hair I have left out when I watch people go, oh yeah, go ahead, no problem. Go around and do all your research. Here's my card and here's a catalog and come back when you're ready. Okay. I would rather us pause and find out what is it that they want to go research that you're the experts, guys. What is it that you wanted? So it's like, hey, I totally appreciate that you want to be informed, Kyle. No problem at all. I'm curious, what is it that you want to go research that you and I didn't get a chance to talk about today? What do you think people are going to say to that?
They're gonna stutter.
Pardon me, Jerry?
No, I was just gonna say they're gonna stutter.
Yeah. Exactly. They don't know, guys. They have no clue what they want to go research. So we're going to practice this part first, and then we're going to bring up what kind of deal can you give me, and you'll see where I'm leading into this. And then this also becomes part of, we're going to jump into a little bit of policy stuff that you're going to be able to put in your manual. And you know what, Grego and Kyle, what you guys are going to appreciate is this will help free you as far as when you're no longer in the store. And Jerry, I'm not worried about you because you're a pro. It's more of when you get guys that are new to sales, or you have somebody who isn't sure of themselves and there's no policy in place. You may be on a holiday and you get to that point where somebody comes in and says, you know, hey, I'm going to buy 4 bikes. What kind of deal can you give me? Well, if you don't have a policy in place and you're out on holiday and a staff member doesn't know how to deal with that, guess what they're doing? They're calling you while you're on holiday. Grego, listen, I'm sorry, man, but I got a guy who's here buying 4 bikes here. What can we do for him? What kind of deal can we give him? That salesperson no longer has authority, and you no longer have that stress-free holiday. I'm going to show you a way to be able to have that stress-free holiday so that you can work on the business and not just in it, and that the staff members, so that you can scale and build your empire of multiple stores here, guys. We're going to put that into play. But first, let's deal with, I want to go home and do some research. So here we go. So guys, like we started before, I just want you to read it. Just read it. You can write this one down because you know I'm going to take it off screen. So be prepared. It's all good. Grego, we're going to start with you. I'm going to go home and do some research.
I appreciate that you want to be well informed. What exactly is it that you want to research that we didn't talk about today?
Nicely done. And guys, it's okay to make mistakes right now. Don't worry about the ums or ahs or anything. I'm not putting that kind of pressure on you. You're just going to get used to the words. And by the way, some people have a hard time with the word specifically. You could remove it. You could say exactly. Doesn't matter. Ultimately, it's the question of, you know, what is it that you want to research that we didn't talk about today? Or what specifically is it that you want to research that we didn't talk about today? As long as we get that across, I'm good. Okay? Kyle, hey man, I just want to go home and go online and do a little bit of research.
I appreciate that you want to be well informed. What specifically is it that you want to research that we didn't talk about today?
Jerry, you know what? Thanks for your time today, and I appreciate all your help. I just want to go home and do a bit of research before I make a decision.
I appreciate that you want to be well informed. What specifically is it that you want to research that we didn't talk about today?
Nice. Grego, really appreciate your expertise. You guys are really great guys here. I just want to go online and do a little bit of research before I make a decision.
I appreciate the fact that you want to be well informed. What exactly is it that you want to research that we didn't talk about today?
Nice. Hey, Kyle, you know what? You really know a lot about these e-bikes, and thanks. I just want to go home and, you know, just do a bit of research before I make a decision here.
I appreciate that you want to be well informed. What specifically is it that you want to research that we didn't talk about today?
Excellent. Hey, Jerry, you know what? I just want to go home and do a bit of research.
I appreciate that you want to be well informed. What specifically is it that you want to research that we didn't talk about today?
Nice. Love it. Hey, Grego, you know what? I just want to go online and see what else is out there and, you know, get a little bit of sense of what's going on.
Well, I appreciate the fact that you want to be well informed. What specifically is it that you want to research that we didn't talk about today?
Kyle, I want to go home and do some research.
I appreciate that you want to be well informed. What specifically is it that you want to research that we didn't talk about today?
Jerry, I want to go home and do some research.
I appreciate that you want to be well informed. What specifically is it that you want to research that we didn't talk about today?
Nicely done, guys. Okay, here we go. A little bit of pressure. No, are you guys comfortable with the script so far?
Yes.
Excellent.
Go for it.
Excellent. Hey, Grego, want to go home and do a bit of research, man.
I appreciate that you want to be well informed. What specifically?
Okay, let's try it again. Hey, Grego, I want to be, I just want to go online and check out some things before I make a final decision.
I appreciate that you want to be well informed. What specifically is it that you want to know that we didn't talk about today?
You're almost there. Give it another try, buddy. We got this. We got this. I got you right here. You're in the cradle. Okay? You're good.
He's sucking from the teat.
I am.
It's okay. Grego, better here than when the shit really happens online or on the floor, right? So it's all good. It's all good. Let's try it one more time. Grego, you know what? I just want to go home and do a bit of research.
I appreciate that you want to be well informed. What specifically is it that we didn't talk about today that I can help you with?
Okay, that's great. That's great. Good ad lib there, and you got the point of it. Kyle, I want to go home and do a bit of research online before I pull the trigger here, man.
I appreciate that you want to be well informed. What specifically do you want to research that we didn't talk about today?
Nice. Hey, Jerry, you know what? I just want to go home and do a little bit of research before I make a final decision.
Bullshit. What specific? Bullshit. That was planned.
Oh no, to New Yorkers, that would be probably very.
Definitely dealing with
Just by ass, you're gonna do research.
Yeah.
Yeah,
What the
yeah,
fuck
yeah,
are you
yeah.
talking about?
Hey, listen, put your wallet on the counter. I'll decide how much I pay.
Aren't you all laid down? Come on. Amex Black. Let's go.
You talking to me? Okay, go on.
All right, Jerry. All right, Jerry. But you know, I just want to go online and do a bit of research before I pull the trigger.
I really appreciate that you want to be well informed. What specifically are you going to research that we didn't talk about today?
Nicely done. Okay, guys. So here's the thing. Now that you have this objection down, you're comfortable with it. If somebody sits there and they go, again, if they sit there and they hum and haw, right, or they're not really sure, the goal behind this for you is you want to build what would look like a flow chart, because most of these conversations, and Jerry, again, you know, we're a couple of experienced guys in retail here with several decades between us. Wouldn't you agree that a lot of the conversations are going to flow in the same direction?
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So you could build, and again, I failed art class, guys, but this would be your flow chart. You could build your flow chart. So you get the objection, and it's yes or no, right? It's going to go this way or this way. So it's like, I want to go, your product's really expensive. Thanks for letting me know how you feel. What exactly are we comparing it to? They'll mention a product, or it's I don't know. Then it comes to this one, right? So it could be your product's too expensive. Hey, thanks for letting me know how you feel. What exactly are we comparing it to? Well, it's nothing really. It's just that I can't afford it. Ah, I can't afford it. Then I'll go this way. I can't afford it, by the way. It's not on our list, but I want to give it to you anyways, guys. Hey, you know what? You're certainly not the first person to mention that to me. You're certainly not the first person to mention that to me. Acknowledge. You're certainly not the first person to mention that to me. The question is, step 2, if we, not if I, if we could get you on a Pedego today, rolling out of here, and now I'm ad-libbing. If we could get you on a Pedego today and you didn't have to pay for 6 months interest-free, would you be willing to give that a try? If we could get you onto a Pedego right now, in fact, right now is better than today. If we could get you onto a Pedego right now and you didn't have to pay for 6 months interest-free, would you be willing to give that a try? And guys, the reason that I'm saying would you be willing to give that a try is it gives the subconscious mind the concept that it could potentially give it back. And this is wordplay, this is high-level stuff, but you guys are definitely there, so that's why I'm giving it to you. Because I want you to be able to make more sales. The goal for me is, I would really love to see you guys hit 25 bikes a month. Forget this 20 bikes a month stuff. Let's crush it. So again, your product's too expensive. Hey, thanks for letting me know how you feel. What exactly are we comparing it to? It's not that it's just expensive for me because I can't afford it. Ah, okay. Well, listen, you're not the first person to mention this to me, and I understand. You know, you can say I appreciate you letting me know about your situation. You're not the first person to mention this to us here at Pedego, Boca, Raton. Tell you what, if we could get you into a bike right now and you didn't have to pay for it for 6 months interest-free, would you be willing to give that a try? I'm closing and I'm giving them a solution. And one of the solutions you could use is PayPal. PayPal will finance up to $5,000 interest-free financing for 6 months, and you could get that response very quickly. Now, I know that you guys might have First Mutual or Affirm or I don't know who else.
Yeah,
So-
Synchrony.
So, you know, if Synchrony doesn't work, you might want to try PayPal for up to $5,000. Again, it's an option. They will finance from $99 up to $5,000 for the rate of a credit card. And it costs you nothing. If you want it, I think I sent you guys the link already. It's up to you.
I'll look into it, yeah, because right now for Synchrony, we have the 6-month zero interest rate financing. We also have 12-month zero interest rate financing, but we don't really offer that one unless it's an extreme.
Yeah.
But for us to do the 6-month financing is the same as if they charged a credit card for the bike.
Right.
You know, they take that 2.4%. The 12-month, I believe, is about 7%.
Yeah, they really ding you into your margin on that 12-month financing. But again, if your blended margin is good enough on your invoice, it's worth it. So at least you guys get a sense of you can create a flow chart depending on your business. So coming back to, I want to go home and do some research. Hey, I totally appreciate that you want to be well informed, Jerry. I'm curious, what is it specifically that you want to research that you and I didn't get a chance to talk about today? And oftentimes a client is going to say, I don't know, because the truth of the matter is, and again, buyers can sometimes be liars. They want to go home and do some research to see if they can find the bike that they love, that you've taken the time to show them. They want to get a deal, but they're not willing to tell you because they're embarrassed that they want to try to go and find it cheaper. Either or, a lot of times that's the reality. So before I jump into how do you go from here to start negotiating, we're going to practice the objection of what kind of deal can you give me? Have you guys heard that one yet, by the way? Have you had somebody ask you, hey, what kind of deal can you give me?
Yes.
All right. Here's how you do it.
The way it may have been wrong, and I said I appreciate the fact that you want to have a deal. Everyone does.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to let you know that we can't move too much on the price of the Pedego itself, but I can help you out with the accessories possibly.
Right. So here's where I think you're gonna appreciate this, Grego, is that when somebody says,
Yeah, I like this better. Yeah.
when somebody says, what kind of deal can you give me? Because when you said I can't move too much on the price of the Pedego, now you've already set the expectation in my mind that I know I'm going to get something. Right? So here, and remember, up on the board here, you've told me that your customers, 60 years old, affluent, upper middle class, these people have negotiated things in their lives before. They're not afraid to ask small businesses for a deal. Not at all. They're negotiators. It's what they do. So what we need to do is we need to be able to hold margin. So the deal question, and I'm just going to put up deal, right? Can you give me a deal? Can you sharpen the pencil? Is that my price? What's the best price? Do these ever go on sale? These are all the same objection. What kind of deal can you give me? So again, step one, acknowledge. Step two, ask a question. So I can appreciate that you're looking for a good deal. What exactly did you have in mind? And I'll write these ones down later. What I really want to focus on right now is your realm of possibility, and I'll explain this in a sec. Zero. You guys, I don't know if you guys can see that. So we're going to come back to this objection here. I want to deal with this. You see this is at $0 to a specific number that only you guys can decide. It's not up to me. If you were to offer somebody a deal, now again, I want to, this is going to be a little bit of a topic jump. So there are some stores that will discount the bike. There are most stores, they will not discount the bike, and they will provide a deal on the accessories.
Yes.
Here's the thing about negotiation. if you come to the table and you show your hand first, that customer of yours is going to want to take more. You give them an inch, they're going to take more. You got to hold your hand. And there's nothing saying that you're actually giving somebody a deal. So again, 55% of the way that we communicate is body language. So again, hey Joe, what kind of deal can you give me? I appreciate that you're looking for a good deal, Kyle. Just kind of curious, like what kind of deals you have in mind? What am I saying?
Puts it in their court, you know.
You're saying,
I'm willing to move, but not too much. You
Okay,
know?
so how about this? Now watch it again. And Jerry, you're with me, but watch this, Jerry. I'm going to do it even better. Kyle, go ahead and ask me what kind of deal can you give me. Go ahead and ask.
What kind of deal can you give me?
You know what, Kyle? I appreciate that you're looking for a good deal. What exactly do you have in mind? What did I just say?
what you're saying to Kyle is, are you serious?
Right.
No.
Without saying no.
Without creating a rejective environment.
Correct.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Are you kidding?
Right. Because if you say it that way, again, it's not just our emotions that can go up, it's our customers' emotions that can go up. So we need to be emotionally resilient. But again, I can also use this. What kind of deal can you give me?
Nonverbal communication.
Right? Exactly. But the words that you have, right? And again, guys, this is finesse. I mean, I do this particular objection in a 4-part series. Like we do this for a month in the SOS dojo. So I'm giving you guys this like in a crash course, but it's important because I want you guys to be able to walk out of this whole training where you're like, okay, yeah, we got this and we're good. So Grego, Kyle, and Jerry, here's the question. And again, I'm going to give you my opinion, but take my information like spare ribs, keep the meat, and throw away the bone. My suggestion is Pedego, you hold the price. You're firm on the bike. Some stores will move on the bike, but then they won't move at all on accessories, and they get a better blended margin. And we know that when you're blended margin, that's what matters for your invoice. It's not what you sell the bike for. It's what's everything that is on the invoice that matters. If your blended margin is good, that's how you build your business. Go ahead, Grego. I saw the question.
Yeah, just of the 4 stores that I've been to not that long ago, all 4 of the owners said that they do work on the price. And we've done a little bit on veterans, et cetera, or on a special situation if they buy more than one bike.
Okay.
But I want you to know that you said that most of the stores don't. That's news to me because everyone that I've talked to have worked on that price.
Now, again, some people will, like, I get people that it's not, I don't run the store. I'm giving you information. Again,
Right, exactly. What you've been told. Right.
now, there's also the strategy that I'm going to suggest, which will make you more money. You can still discount. You're just not discounting the bike. The bike itself, okay? I'm going to put here, the bike is firm.
Right, and that's what we've been saying, except for I said, you know, that's something that I can't move on the bike price. It is what it is.
However, this is where it's like, listen, I totally appreciate that you're looking for a good deal. What exactly did you have in mind? If remove this from your vernacular right now, from your memory, and if I ask you honestly, if you were to discount the bike, how far would you discount it where you'd be, I'm willing to go this far on every deal to close a deal? What would that number be, Grego? There's no wrong answer here. We're just talking.
Yeah, that's a very good question, and it's one that I haven't considered yet. We have discounted some bikes that had some miles on it, so we're willing to go up to even as high as 10% off on a bike that had a lot of miles on it, and it's essentially a used bike. Right. But normally it's $100.
Yeah, $100, $200.
$100, $200.
So probably less
than
5%.
Okay, so if for sake of this exercise today, again, we're going to be firm on the bike, but you're saying you're as far as $200 off. So hear me out. That's the number that we're going to use right here.
All right.
The number here is $200. Now I want you to know There are some stores that their number is higher than 200 bucks, and there's a few stores, not many, that are it's less than 200 bucks. I'm going to suggest I think 200 bucks is a good number. Most stores are a little bit more than that. But hear me out how we play this. I appreciate that you're looking for a good deal. What exactly do you have in mind? And they throw a number that's 200 bucks or less. For example, they say, well, can you throw in that Sena helmet? The Sena helmet sells for $129, but costs you about 70 bucks.
Right.
So the bike is firm. You are not discounting the bike. So what you're saying is, and hear my answer. So what you're saying is, if I throw in that Sena helmet, you're going to buy right now?
Yeah.
The other option is, I appreciate that you're looking for a good deal. What exactly do you have in mind? Well, can you knock off 200 bucks? I have a choice now. They've made me the offer, and I know what my hand is, because you just said, guys, that your hand is 200 bucks. My hand, I can play it, and I can say, I can appreciate that you're looking for an awesome deal. Unfortunately, 200 bucks is a little steep. Is there a win-win somewhere that we could meet, that we could come up with an agreement that you'd be willing to do something today? I already know that we're going to be there, but now I'm bringing them back, so I'm holding margin over here. Number one. The other option is, of course, if they go too far, right? Which we'll practice that. I'm looking for a deal. What kind of deal can you give me, Joe? Hey, I totally appreciate that you're looking for a good deal. What exactly did you have in mind, Kyle? Well, can you knock off 200 bucks? So what you're saying is, if I save you $200 off of your total invoice, you're going to buy now? I didn't say I'm taking $200 off the bike. I'm saying I'm taking $200 off the total invoice, which is going to come from accessories. Because when I give you a $200 discount in accessories, it only costs me 100 bucks because you're making 50% margin, which that strategy helps you hold margin. You're holding your bike margin at 40%. And if you've got to throw in something, it's half. Your blended margin is still going to stay at around the 44 to 45% space, which is awesome. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So
Yes.
The response is, I can appreciate that you're looking for a great deal here. So what you're saying is, if I save you 200 or whatever the number is, if I save you a couple $100 bucks off of your total invoice, you're going to buy now? And when they say yes, you say, congratulations. Welcome to the Pedego family. You congratulate them immediately to close the deal. And then what you will do is you will pull out your quotes, because we're not done. Because we're going to use accessories, and I'm going to show you guys that hopefully before the end of this call. So you guys have a homework assignment before next week. Small assignment, it's going to help you make money. Jerry, you got something to add or a question?
The $200 can be blended, correct?
Of course.
Well, if you're delivering a bike, it's going to cost $200. There's $200 off the delivery.
Yep.
100%. Here's a little hint of this. Whoops. I want to make sure that I don't end the call. One of the things that I'm going to suggest that you guys do is set yourselves up with quotes. See, because one of the challenges that most stores have is they forget what's available on the accessories list for the bike. So when somebody goes for a test ride and they come back and I go, hey, so what do you think, Kyle? Oh, I love it. Awesome. Do you want to take it? They may say, I'm not really sure. Well, you know what? I just want to show you what the typical, when somebody's on a boomerang, these are the accessories that we typically suggest to go with that bike. And then I'll have every accessories that I have in store, which of course in this list, this is from Pedego San Diego. I'm going to show all of the accessories that are available for that specific bike. Now, back when the boomerang was $32.95, most people would only show the bike, the battery upgrade, a lock, and a helmet. Most stores, unfortunately, average 4 line items. When they do this exercise, and they do everything that you have on the walls available. I have stores, by the way, that are now averaging 14 line items per invoice. What do you think happens to your blended margin when you're averaging 14 line items? Through the roof.
Yeah.
Plus, you're not being salesy. You're simply showing people the option. It's like, hey, you know what, Jerry? Here's a list of accessories that people will typically get with this particular bike. So when somebody says, hey, Joe, what kind of deal can you give me? Totally appreciate that you're looking for a good deal, Jerry. What is it on this list that you want me to take off to save you some money? That's the first place you go to. So I'm not even discounting. I'm not going to the $200 space yet. I'm taking my list and I'll go, what do you want me to scratch off, Jerry? I'll save you some money. What are we taking off your list? Well, nobody wants to lose anything. But if they do, you save them a few bucks. Well, I don't need that rack. Okay. And now they get the sense that they're negotiating with you, but they're just taking things off the list. And then what you can do is you can say, you know, I've got some other folks that are here. I want to help out real quick. Take this. There's an X and a line. Take this pen. Just keep what you want. I'll be right back. When you see an X and a line on a sheet of paper like this, and I give you a pen, what are you compelled to do, Kyle?
They're going to sign it.
Absolutely. So you go, okay, here's the quote. Take, you literally, I would do this. Take this. I'm going to go help these other folks and be right back in a quick moment. They've already said.
We haven't done the individual bikes yet, but we have done the core accessories, you know, for each bike out the door, no matter the model. Yeah. These are the accessories that we're going to be, you know, showing off the customer to. Do you suggest it kind of in more of this list format, or would it be better in an invoice format similar to the one that you were showing us?
My suggestion would be the invoice format that you could, and again, you can do that in a Word document. I mean, it doesn't have to be overly fancy, but you definitely want to make it be specific to the bike, because there's some bikes that, you know, accessories won't work on. Like if you go with a mountain bike like an Element or like an Elevate, you won't be able to get fenders in a rack, panniers, you know, like that's typically not the type of accessories that you'll go with. However, you go with a Ridge Rider and you can turn your Ridge Rider into an Urban Assault Edition, and now you've got riser stem, Metro bars, phone holder, light package. And the beauty of individualizing it specific to the bike is it gives the customer the sense that they can customize their bike, as opposed to here are all the accessories. You kind of hone it in, and it really is a short exercise, guys. I mean, a lot of the stuff that goes on the Boomerang will also fit on the Interceptor. If it's the Platinum Edition, you know, City Commuter, it's the Platinum Edition Interceptor. What are the accessories that are going to go on the Ridge Rider? What are the accessories that are going to go on the Elevate? So it's really going to take you 4 or 5 or maybe 6 individual SKUs, but then you'll have them done, and then you could show them. So again, what kind of deal can you give me? Appreciate that you're looking for a good deal. What exactly do you have in mind? Or I appreciate that you're looking for a good deal. What is it specifically on this list that you want me to take off to help save you some money? That would be my first tactic. I'll scratch line items off because I'm not discounting. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
May I, one of the objections that I have received, and it's tainted me to this process that you're talking about, is the fact that we now have the internet and
yes.
Amazon, and specifically Amazon.
Right.
And I'll have someone say, well, you know, let me look on Amazon, and especially on the accessories, not the bike,
right,
but on accessories.
Great question, Grego. So I asked this question. I was the keynote speaker in Chicago back in February for the Chicagoland Area Bicycle Dealers Association, for CABDA. And I asked everybody in the room, I said, how many of you have ever had somebody buy a bike from you, come back to you 2 to 3 weeks later with a box full of accessories and say, hey, could you please install these accessories that I bought somewhere else? And you know it's Amazon. Can you install them for me? And everybody raises their hand. And I asked, I said, how many of you actually made the pitch for those accessories to that prospect? And, you know, a lot of people raised their hand, and I said, I'm going to challenge you. I guarantee you actually didn't. You may have them up on your walls, But if you took this approach and you sat down with them, because here's the other thing that you can do, Grego, is, again, a bit of policy and procedure stuff here before we continue to practice. On a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being they love it, they're delighted, 1 being they hate it, when somebody takes a Pedego home, how do they feel?
Well, we've had some mechanical
Excited.
issues.
They're giddy.
Well, except for we've had a couple of folks that have had little slight mechanical issues.
We've had one. We've had one.
Right, 2.
The majority, let's say the 80-20 rule, 80% of the people that take their bike home, on a scale of 1 to 10, how many feel?
They're 10, yeah.
Kyle?
Oh yeah, they're super excited. They're actually pushing to get the bike sooner as much as possible.
Okay, so would you say once they get it home, are they a 9, a 10?
Yes.
Gary?
Yes, especially on the first ride.
10.
Yeah, okay. So guys, let me ask you this. If somebody says, I want to go, and again, it's just spitballing with you and for something for you to reflect on, you don't have to make a decision today. Just something to think about. Somebody says, I want to go home and do some research. I totally appreciate that you want to do some research. What is it that you want to think about that we didn't get a chance to talk about today? I'm not really sure. And they don't want to negotiate. They just are insistent that they want to go home and think about it and they'll get back to you. How open are you on the idea that, hey, why don't I do this? If I could give you the opportunity to take the bike home overnight, rent it for free for 24 hours, and then I give you a call tomorrow. Would you like to do that? How likely are, and I'm talking that out loud, how likely are they to do research when they've actually got the bike in their garage and they can play with it?
Very little.
I
But
guarantee.
they might do maybe 5 minutes of research, but they're going to be majority riding.
So,
There's a risk with that, of course, if they damage it or they.
well, and you all just told me though, and again, I don't work for Pedego. I'm just giving you ideas that I've seen work. You've all told me that basically the client, once they get the bike home, they're a 9 or a 10 in terms of their delight level. And by you saying, listen, I believe in this product so much, why don't we set it up so that you take it home and I'll follow up with you in the morning? You'll be able to call them and go, all right, so are we doing this? And I can tell you that the experience that I have, yes, there is a risk, Grego. There's no question that you will have the occasional, no, I'm bringing the bike back. Well, you're getting them back in the store and they've had an experience with the Pedego and you're able to counter more objections as opposed to letting them walk.
Right.
And the statistics are over 90% of the people end up buying because they've had the opportunity to have the bike and they're not going to be going down the Alice in Wonderland rabbit hole of way too much information. If they have the bike, they'll play with the bike and love the bike. So that's something that you can think about if you want to add to your arsenal in terms of policy. The other policy that you now have in place is $200 off of invoice per single bike. So if somebody's going to buy 4 bikes, what's the total discount off of total invoice for 4 bikes, guys?
800.
800. You have your policy. There should be no reason why you change this number for more bikes. You've got your number, right?
Okay.
Does that's my opinion. You can change it if you want. I just, it's up to you. But once you have this policy in writing, you could be gone on holiday. A staff member pulls out the policies and procedures manual and says, oh, okay. There's no way, if somebody calls you and says, hey, Grego, there's a guy who's wanting to buy 4 bikes. You'd go, listen, okay, we have a 2-strike policy. Here's strike 1 on that particular problem. Again, the way we did it was a 2-strike policy. You were allowed to have as many single strikes on an array of different problems. As long as you didn't repeat the same problem over and over and over and over again. So if somebody called me on a holiday and said, hey, listen, Joe, I've got somebody who wants to buy 4 bikes, I'd say, well, we have that in the policy and procedures manual. So you shouldn't have to call me on this one ever again. Click. Because they know.
Right.
This is going to help you scale. And again, what's great is you can change this number if you find that your metrics aren't working. That's up to you. You can also push the number down all the way to 0.
What have you seen be the most successful number for that range of enticing people enough while keeping our margins?
Great question. The most popular number is $300.
300?
300 off total invoice.
Yes. Yes.
Nobody's discounting the bike. It's 300 off total invoice. I would suggest that you start at 2 and be firm. If somebody comes in at 205, the answer is no. You have to have it. If you bend, and I mean, we could talk amongst the 4 of us here. If you bend and another staff member who's new, let's say there's a new girl comes in, her name is Kate, and Kate sees you guys do $210 off. Well, now it's like, well, how come my rule is 200, but for everybody else it's 210? I mean, it can't work. It has to be, this is the policy.
Right.
Or change the policy. But it's got to be for everybody. Otherwise, you lose congruency within the team, and that's not good. It's not a good environment from a team perspective, especially when you want to scale a business.
I've been making that mistake, where it changes. It's changed on the customer. I would like to have in place something that, if they're a firefighter or someone that's in a service, military, for example.
Yeah.
That they feel special and respected for what they've done for all of us. And so that might be different than the $200. I don't know how to address that, but it's important to me as a veteran, and Jerry's a veteran too, for me to acknowledge their service. And so maybe we could do something along $300 for a service member. But see, we're also getting a new bike coming on out, the Element, and our margins are a lot less on that. So for us to give $200 means we're shooting down the, but anyways, everything's flexible. And I really, that gives us some food for thought. So thank you.
Because we'll probably have the cap, if it's one of the city commuters or the 36 volts, except for really the trike and the latch, it's going to be less than 2,000. So probably the $3,000 mark is going to be the $200 off total invoice, or 300, what we decide. Right. If it's less than 3,000, it's only $100 off total invoice.
What have you seen on discounts, or do people identify or acknowledge firemen and policemen and service members? Are you seeing any additional discounts for those?
Great question. And the answer to that is I'm not aware. Personally, I'm not aware of somebody saying if you're a service member that you get something additional. There's nothing saying.
It just comes up in conversation.
Right. And I'm not aware of that. But that doesn't mean that other stores haven't taken the tactic that you're talking about of having it prepared. I would not be surprised. I mean, I look at Aaron Maynard, who's, again, a retired Air Force colonel. I know that Jason Medina in Pedego 30A is also retired military. I think Mike Heslin, I may be wrong on that, but there's a few people that have been in the service. And so you may want to put that out into the Pedego dealer Facebook page and find out. I think, though, that again, you can choose to go immediately to your, whatever your ultimate bottom line is. Whereas with everybody else who asks for a deal, you can choose to negotiate. If you negotiated where somebody says, hey, can you throw in that Connect seat post? Well, the Connect seat post $249. So now it's $200 off the invoice. So you can say, you know what? I totally appreciate that you're looking for an impossible deal. Because they've gone over. I can totally appreciate that you're looking for an impossible deal because that accessory is $249. If I were able to get that accessory to you at half price, would you be willing to do that now? Well, half price is your cost. Half price is under $200. You've asked for the sale.
Right.
So there's ways to, or you could say, I could totally appreciate that you're looking for an impossible deal. And I'm saying no, and I'm still negotiating. What would be a win-win for both of us that we could come to that what would be a win-win that would, let me rephrase that. See, you think a few times? Yeah, exactly. Hey, so I totally appreciate that you're looking for an impossible deal, Kyle. What would be a win-win for both of us in this situation? And I throw it back in your court. So you've already been told $249 or that is too far. Now they're going to come back, and they may come back at halfway. And often, by the way, that's how that is going to look like. People will go, can you give me this? And you're very polite and say, you know what, I appreciate that you're looking for an impossible deal. What would a win-win look like? And they're not going to be firm on that $249. They'll meet you at, well, how about 120? How about half price? That's literally the way it's going to go. And then you can say, so what you're saying is, if I could get you that Connect C post at half price, you're going to do this whole thing right now? Yeah. Okay. Awesome. Congratulations. Welcome to the Pedego family. Let's go over the rest of the list of accessories that are going to make this an excellent experience for you. Right? Like, you can't just think that it's just going to be the bike and that one accessory. You're going to go through the list, not because we're being salesy, because we want to provide every one of your customers the ultimate Pedego experience, and we want to make sure that they don't go on Amazon to see if they can find it cheaper. Now, the other thing that you might want to do policy-wise, and I did this, we did this at Fitness Depot, and it was brilliant, and it helped a lot. Somebody said, well, I want to go online and see if I can find it cheaper, right? You could policy, and we had a poster up at the door, and it said this, well, listen, we have a best price guarantee. If you find the exact same product, whether it's an accessory or the product online or anywhere else, you find the same product anywhere else, we'll beat it by 5% of the difference. Of the difference. People don't hear that part. They just think beat it by 5%. So if they're beating our price by $100, what's 5% of $100?
$5.
$5. That's it. Okay. So I'll beat it by 5% of the difference here. Here's your $5. So I'll match their price, and then here's the 5% of the difference. Done. It is so rare that somebody would even take us up on that guarantee, because the fact that they saw it, okay, great. They just felt better about it. So that was our tactic, and it worked brilliantly. So we'll beat it by 5% of the difference. Go ahead, Kyle.
Because I used to use that similar in California, that if you can find it cheaper somewhere else, we matched price is what we did out in California. But then we actually had people that would wait a day to buy, because they would go home and they would try and find what they wanted at cheaper costs, and then they would come back the next day like, hey, I found this cheaper on Amazon, and then they would try and nickel and dime like that. It didn't happen very often, but we did have those customers.
And I lost a couple this weekend on I know that because as they were leaving the store, they said that they were going to, the wife did mention that she's going to hunt around for better pricing. And so,
and that's,
on the internet.
But this is what's great about that, Grego. So using this particular objection as the example, when going back into this, when somebody says, hey, you know what? I want to go home and do some research, or I want to go online and see if I can find other stuff online. Hey, I totally appreciate that you want to be well informed. What is it that you want to research that we didn't get a chance to talk about today? And you say, I want to go online and just see if I can find it cheaper. I can appreciate that you're looking for a good deal. What exactly do you have in mind? Start the process.
Right. Yeah, that's where I messed up.
Don't let them leave. Hey, you know what? I can appreciate that you're looking for a good deal. What exactly did you have in mind, ma'am? Do you like the bike? Yeah. Hey, let's talk. What did you have in mind? I'll throw the ball in her court. And you know what? If she's in your realm of possibility, you can close. And then you can say, listen, if you find a better price on anything that you just bought right now, better than this bike that you bought, and you know she's not, because the policy with Pedego is MAP pricing is MSRP. So you get to hold margin. They're not going to find the bikes cheaper. They will not. It's great. And again, the things that we did at Fitness Depot, and the way that I would recommend it for you, is that if you find the exact same bike, it's got to be same bike, same size, same frame color, it's got to be the same bike. Well, it's not the same bike. You found a white one. This one's red. This is a premium color. You can't, you know what I mean? There's so many variables. And again, some people will say, some people won't compromise on color. I was just talking, in fact, I've got a call later this morning with Pedego Livermore. Last week, he got a shipment of bikes, and he 4 out of the 8 mineral blue that he received were insistent that it needed to be that color. They weren't going to accept any other color. They were waiting. And they waited weeks, like I'm talking months, to be able to get that particular bike. They didn't want to rent. They didn't want to opt for a black one. They wanted mineral blue. Okay, you'll have to wait for it. And they paid. So, but does all of it help you out? Go ahead.
I did have a scenario once. We had a customer come in. His daughter's here at local college, and so he came in. He's from Connecticut.
Yeah.
He came in. He rode a couple of our bikes, and we were going to drop ship the bikes to him and everything. He went into a Pedego dealer up in Connecticut, and he told them about his experience down here, that we were going to ship him a bike. That Pedego dealer gave him like 15% off the bike to buy it through them.
Sure.
And then he called me, seeing if I was going to drop the price any lower.
Right. And so the negotiation tactic is the goal. The word that you've heard me use is not even the question of, would you like to take it today? Because,
Right.
you know, yeah, maybe later today. The goal is now. Like that's, so what can sometimes happen is we give people the opportunity to walk. But if somebody says, hey, what kind of deal can you give me? I appreciate that you're looking for a good deal. What exactly do you have in mind? Can you do this? So what you're saying is, if I do what you're looking for, you're going to take it now? And then if we've negotiated, I would take a deposit. So the context, it begs me to ask the question. That person who's in Connecticut, they were in your store. Did they rent from you?
Yes, he rented for a day.
Excellent. And so at the end of the rental, you asked them, what did you think? They enjoyed it. And you said, can you imagine riding one of these back home? And they probably said, yeah, I would. So I'm curious, how did the conversation go? Can you replay it? Because there's a learning opportunity here, and for all of us.
Yes, absolutely. So I'm trying to rethink. You were there too, if you
Yes,
can remember.
basically, he wanted to have a small business where he rented out. He had a little shack out in the boonies, but it was along a bike trail. He wanted to offer rentals. And so he says, I'm still working on the business plan to see if this is going to work or not. Remember that?
Yeah.
I'm going to work on the business. I said, great. I said, we're going to be there for you. And if you want one of these bikes, and I think it's a great fit for you, these Pedegos are great. We've got a 5-year warranty. It's going to serve you well. Just let us know, and we will drop ship at our cost any bike that you want.
Right.
And so he says, I'll go home and I'm going to do that business plan that you mentioned. That's a great idea. And I'll get back in touch with you. This is the first I heard that he had contacted Kyle about the 15%, but that there was a dealer willing to give him a discount at a 15% margin. And I don't know, the deal's probably already done with that Connecticut. The problem with that I have is my conscience, we offer service here, and that Connecticut dealer will be closer and better suited for him, in all honesty, than we are.
Sure.
The thing that we can beat him on is I could go to 16% or something off MSRP, but the fact is that he'll be better served by, how do I look someone in the eye and tell them the truth that they're going to be better served?
From Grego, and so this is where, again, opinions may differ here, and I just want to give you more information that you can make a decision on. And I'm going to send you what's called the rental script, because I have a script specifically for when a renter comes back from a ride. Because most Pedego dealers, when a renter comes back, they go, hey, how did it go? And they say, oh, it was great. Well, you know what? Just so you know, we could ship you bikes, and we'll ship them at our cost, and we'll also apply the cost of today's rental towards the purchase of the bike. And if you're from out of state, then you also won't be paying any state tax, because we're shipping it directly from California to you and to your home. And then that's basically telling, not selling. And people just go, okay, well, thanks, bye. And then they leave. I mean, if they're interested, they'll go to their local dealer. or will they? Because there are some dealers that are tremendous at selling the idea of a rental to the person who is the renter. And how you would approach it would be, again, ask questions. So, hey, Kyle, how'd the rental go today? It was awesome. Any issues with the bike? No. Oh, no, of course not. They're super reliable. Hey, listen, I got a question for you, Kyle. Can you imagine riding one of these bikes back home? Yeah, awesome. So if I could apply the purchase of the rental today and put it towards the purchase of the bike, would that interest you? Oh, well, how much are these bikes, right? And you start talking. That, here's another thing. Usually when we ship a bike like this, it's a couple $100. If we could eat the cost of the shipping, would that interest you? I'm asking again. And then it's like, what state do you live in? I'm from Connecticut. So what state tax over there? Because it's currently a loophole, guys. It is what it is. What is state tax? And I don't know what the tax number is. Let's say it's 5%. Well, 5% on this bike is X. Because we're shipping it to you out of state, you wouldn't be paying that state tax. So if we could do this, and do this, and get it all done for you, would you want to do that now? I mean, guys, now, Grego, you're absolutely correct. The local dealer now suddenly has somebody who may walk in and go, oh, you mean you bought this bike down in Boca Raton? This is where some people, they have a different sense on it. You're spending marketing dollars to attract people into your place of business. That's costing you profit dollars to get people into your place of business, correct?
Correct.
I believe, you may disagree, you've earned the right to make the sale to that person who's not even living in your area. However, how you approach after-sales service is up to you. And so you may, like I would, get in touch with the local dealer in Connecticut and say, hey, local dealer, I just sold a guy who lives in your area. They were in my store, and I sold them a bike. They never knew about you. They never knew about us. But they came in due to my marketing, and I sold them a bike. However, I'm going to give you X% for building the bike. And if you didn't sell that person accessories, which is up to you, Grego, I would. But I would say they're going to come into your store. You're going to build it. And you're going to make X dollars for it, and you're going to have them for service and all additional accessories for the rest of the life that they own the bike. Plus, you'll also, if you do a great job, you're also going to get all of their referrals, which a referral is zero cost per lead. I mean, so you can give that local dealer a small piece of that action. I did this in the fitness industry. I had a guy come in from Toronto to Winnipeg, go to the neighboring sandwich store called Grandma Lee's Bakery, had a sandwich, came into my store, and he said, yeah, I'm from Pickering, Ontario, just outside of Toronto. I'm not here to buy. I said, no problem. I sold him a gym and a treadmill, and then I called the guy in Pickering and I said, hey, Kamal, I just sold a guy who lives in your area a gym and a treadmill. I'm going to give you 20% of the deal. And I didn't touch a box. And Kamal was like, hey, thanks, man. And done. So it's up to you in terms of how you want to play it. I agree with you, Grego. I mean, we want to definitely be able to provide people service. You also don't want to lose out on the opportunity to be able to make a profit, because here's the thing. Just because somebody rented a Pedego electric bike from you in Boca Raton does not guarantee that they're going to buy a Pedego electric bike when they go back to Connecticut. They may buy a Trek. They may buy a Specialized. They may buy a Rad Power. I would close that damn Pedego right there on the spot and get in touch with the other dealer. That's just how I would approach it. Does that make sense, guys?
Yes.
And again, it's up to you.
I think we've lost that sale because if our margin's at 40%, he's already knocking off 15% local.
He bought a single bike, and he said he would call us when he wants to do his fleet sale. So he bought a single bike so he can ride on the trails and get used to it and everything, as he's still working. But he said he'd contact us when he wants that fleet.
All right.
So we'll see. Yeah.
And that's the other thing too. There's a lot. Remember, buyers can be liars. And when somebody says, "Yeah, I'm going to open up a business and I'm going to open up multiple bikes," listen, a single bike sale, water off a duck's back, guys. Don't worry about it. Because when you start doing fleet sales and it's actually business to business, when you're approaching hotels, tour companies, security, big warehouse spaces, and I mean the list can go on. Police. There's that sales cycle is minimum 6 months. Yet you could turn around and sell 12 to 20 bikes to a location, and there's a way to play that. But that's a whole other approach. All right, guys. How do you feel about today's call? Go ahead, Grego.
No, it was good. It was a great call, and I think that scripting was very good. So, yeah, we've got a lot of issues coming up, and we're going to get cracking here on our end. I've got a inspection coming on Wednesday. Could happen any time during the day from 8 to 4.
Okay.
And so we've got some things to do around the store here. So I'm going to have to let you go. Thank you very much, Joe.
Yeah,
Appreciate it.
this was great.
Jerry's got a question for you.
Go ahead.
Was there a template from last week's course meeting?
If there was, and if I didn't send it, I'm sure I sent it, but I'll resend it on this call. I'll send both.
I might have gotten it. We might have gotten
And
it.
a template for this meeting too?
Yes. Yeah, I'm going to send you that template and the template on this one as well. There's also some after sale follow-up stuff that we're going to talk about on the next call. You'll get it on this next email. Yeah.
Just so you know, Jerry's is the same thing at Pedego, Boca.com, but it's Jerry, Jerry. If you ever wanted to include him, there's not many of us here. So.
Yeah, the only one that I have is Pedego Army of One
Template.
sales template.
I'll make sure I send all that stuff to you guys. No problem, Jerry. Jerry at Pedego Boca Raton.
Yes, and if you don't mind sending that rental template too.
That's on my list for sure, guys.
Thank you.
See you next week.
Absolutely.
Bye.
Bye.